Allah is sufficient for me. I rely only on whom? On Allah. Allah is sufficient for me. Allah takes care of me. And you should not fear anything except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the tawakkul. Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakeel. Allah is sufficient for me. Allah will suffice me. And I rely totally on Him. And the prophets of Allah, they achieved this tawakkul, the maximum of it. Tawakkul upon Allah. You know Musa alayhi salam, when his people told him, we are trapped. Fir'aun behind us, the sea in front of us. What can we do? They're going to seize us. They're going to capture us. What did Musa say? قال كلا إن معي ربي سيهدين. Nay, Allah is with me. He's going to guide me. Yes, the sea in front of me, behind, Fir'aun behind me, but Allah with me. So He's going to guide me. He's going to tell me what to do. And Allah says, وَنَضْرِبْ بِعَصَاكَ الْبَحْرِ. Strike the sea with your stick. This is the tawakkul. Hasbi Allah. You rely, say Allah is sufficient for me. Allah is enough. Allah is my protector. I depend upon Him. I rely on Him, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you really rely on Allah Azza wa Jal, you remember the hadith yesterday, the 70,000? وَعَلَىٰ رَبِّهِمْ يَتَوَكَّلُونَ. And upon their Lord they rely. They put their trust in their Lord. That's why they enter Jannah without hisab, without reckoning. Why? Because they achieved the maximum level of tawakkul. That's why they go to the Jannah straight. No questions. Is this clear? Are you following? Also, Imran ibn Husayn narrated, and this hadith is da'if, weak. Because in its isnad, Al-Mubarak bin Fudala, and he's a weak narrator. So there is a defect in the isnad. So Imran ibn Husayn narrated, أن النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم رأى رجلا في يده حلقة من صفر فقال صلى الله عليه وسلم ما هذه؟ قال من الواهنة. فقال انزعها فإنها لا تزيدك إلا وهنا فإنك لو مت وهي عليك ما أفلحت أبدا. So this hadith is weak. It is in Musnad Ahmad and Sunan ibn Majah, but it is weak. The Prophet ﷺ once saw a man with a brass ring on his hand and asked him, what is this? The man replied, to overcome the weakness of old age. He said, remove it, for it can only add to your weakness. Should death overtake you while you are wearing it, you would never succeed. Though you will find that it is recorded by a good chain of narrators, but that is not the case. There is a defect in the isnad. And the defect in the isnad is Al-Mubarak bin Fudala. Also, in the isnad, Muhammad ibn Khalid, another narrator. Muhammad ibn Khalid. And it is a da'if, weak narrator. So there are two defects, two narrators. Muhammad ibn Khalid. The first one, Al-Mubarak bin Fudala. There are two men, two narrators in this isnad. Al-Mubarak bin Fudala and Muhammad ibn Khalid, and both are weak. Sorry? In the memory? No, not always. Not always. It depends on the degree of the weakness. If the narrator is very weak, shadid al-da'af, this will increase the hadith weakness. They increase the weakness of the hadith. So when the hadith will strengthen the hadith, weak hadith strengthens another weak hadith, if the weakness is not that severe, if it is not that severe, so the defect is in the mental or the memory capacity, okay, that he is not sharp, is not having sharp memory, and another one have something similar, then this they can strengthen the hadith and make it hasan. But if this narrator is very weak, another hadith is very weak, another narrator, so the hadith will get weaker and weaker. Are you following? The experts of the science of hadith. So the experts of the science of hadith, because I don't want to this is another topic, okay? And you know we want to have time. But anyway, the experts, the doctors of hadith, they are doctors. In Bukhari, Muslim, and we call A'immat al-Jarh wa al-Ta'dil, Ibn Ma'in. So those are the scholars of hadith. They know the narrators. Because every narrator, we have his biography. So how we check the isnad of the hadith? We go and take every narrator and check and read everything about him. Everything. That's why we are the ummah of the isnad. No ummah on the face of the globe that have this continuous chain of narrator except the Muslims. Until this moment we have, mashallah, mashayikh with the isnad to the Prophet ﷺ. Till this moment. Unbroken chain. So and so told me, so and so told me, till you reach Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. No one has this. If we ask the Jews, give us a continuous isnad to Musa alayhi salam, they don't have. Ask the Christian, they don't have. No one has isnad. This is the ummah of the isnad. And Allah protected the deen by the isnad. And we know everything about the narrator. Everything. You see? For instance, the students, they keep always testing the teacher. Examining the teacher. Always. Always they are keeping that. He learned from you some ahadith by your isnad. Then he will read them to you. And he will quote another hadith by another isnad, not yours. If you approve that, he will put a question mark. The Shaykh now started to lose track. Okay? And they will do this again. If it happens, then though the Shaykh before his memory, mashallah, but after that, the memory starts to get weaker. So that's why they will tell you, and his memory became weak in year so and so. And the hadith that he mentioned before that, acceptable. And the hadith after that, unacceptable. Where can you find this? This is how Allah protected the deen. And I think this is sufficient, okay? So, but however, even that is narration, but the meaning is correct. What this brass ring can do for me. You cannot prove to me that it is medicinal. Let us go through the experiment. Show me. Nothing. It's not something tangible, material, you can tell me. You cannot prove it to me. It doesn't fall under this category that it is something material proven. And it cannot also fall under that it is proven or approved by Allah. It is something spiritual. So it is what? Shirk. Are you following? I remember, do you have still these things in your country? In our countries, now these things are not there anymore. But before, especially, among the nomadic tribes who live in the deserts, in order to ward off the evil eye,